Carys, what I massively admire about you is the ability to show up and make things happen. There's so many different avenues I want to explore you today. Uh, and I think a great place to start is the world of pivoting. Now, this show is called Training Lanes, Changing Lanes, and was born out of my own experience of changing through lanes of life. And I realized that there weren't that many conversations actually talking about the messy middle part. It was just the positives, the before and afters, not the ugly bit that nobody likes to talk about. Now, before we get into this, what do people need to know about you and who you are?
So I'm Carys. I actually coach female entrepreneurs now to be more confident on camera and perfect their personal brand based off my experience of talking on camera since I was 16 in my bedroom when no one was doing it, and essentially give women now the support and the guidance that I needed when I was younger. And I have pivoted left, right, and center over the past 10 years of my career. And I think it's very important for people to know that that pivot and that change is just part of general day-to-day life and your journey as a human and growing, because as you grow, things around your life generally just change so much. So I work really closely with all of my clients to allow them to be okay with it and actually see that as a positive and not a negative.
Yeah, amazing. And again, so much to get into, but one of the main things I wanted to talk to you about is kind of this idea of how did you, obviously, like you said, a lot of what you do is around media, working with brands, social media, presenting. I know obviously that's probably you're doing your coaching stuff now. How did you get into that industry? Because it's such a, like, I think everyone would love to, but
Mm,
people don't. A,
mm.
why do you think that is? And B, how did you manage to kind of break through that? Well, nobody does it. Why me? Kind of thing.
Yeah. So my career journeys, it's been very, very, I've changed loads of different things. So went to college, studied TV and film for about 2 years, left that, and then got an opportunity to work in TV production. So I worked in TV production for about 4.5 years. That was where my career essentially started. And then I left that just after COVID times, because COVID really shook the TV industry and no one was really getting booked for jobs. It was a very, very weird time. And then I essentially left TV production to go into sort of the online creative industry. But even at that time, it wasn't really a big thing like it is now. So it was just kind of like starting when I joined as a creative producer for an agency. And that's where I found my love really for like directing, working on shoots, working with models, kind of creating that concept, but then bringing it to life for the client. I absolutely loved it. Like it was so much fun. And then left that and kind of did a few different jobs over the years, like marketing management, worked for some small businesses, big businesses. And then I randomly went into recruitment a few years ago, hated it, obviously, because I'm not going to be a recruitment girly. And then I left one day because I had a literally like a breakdown. I was like, look, I can't do this anymore. Like this, I can't. I literally like broke down to my manager. He was looking at me like, what is going on with you, girl? So I literally left like the week after. And I was like, right, fuck it. I'm going self-employed. And if it works, it's great. If it doesn't, at least I can say I tried. I was like, I'm giving myself a year of my time to see how this thing goes. And then about 3 months after that, I moved to Manchester by myself. So I was living near Bristol. So I moved about 4 hours up north, left all of my family, left all of my friends at the time. And you know, when you just have a gut feeling, I just had that gut feeling. And I was like, right, I need to I need to go where the work is at the end of the day, because I was trying to work with these massive clients. That was my dream. But I was like, I'm in a small seaside town. Like, that's never going to work. So I was there like, right, I'm going to put myself where the work is. And then within the first year of being in Manchester, I created content for Disney. I created content for Holland and Barrett, for Asda. And I was just like, well, what is going on? It's insane.
Where do you kind of think that? I know you said a lot of what you and the success that you've done there is from putting yourself in that location and in that environment. Um, is there anything else that like you kind of look at in that part of your life and part of your career that you're like, yeah, that was kind of the underpinning thing for that to be
Of the
really successful?
success. Yeah. Putting myself out there. Like, you will never get the opportunities unless you go out and get them and put yourself out there, especially from a personal branding perspective. You can't sit and be like, I want to achieve this and I want that, but that's just not going to happen for me. Like, yes, it will, but you have to first check your mindset and fix that, because mindset is everything. And if you are the sort of person that's there like, oh, that's not going to happen for me, and rah, 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 it won't, because you've got that mindset. Whatever you believe is your reality. So I think mindset was huge. And then just getting outside your comfort zone. Like, you have to get outside your comfort zone. These things that you want to achieve are essentially that higher version of yourself. Your brain is made to keep you safe and comfortable. And that's the thing. So your brain will always say, you can't do that, or you shouldn't do that. Or there'll be people around you like, are you sure you want to do that? That's not going to work out really. Really, you should be realistic. But if you can just block out the noise, it's so important.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny you should say that, because a lot of that is kind of at the front of my mind at the moment. Like, that's a lot of
Okay.
like how almost challenging those thoughts and those beliefs that I can't do it, or it's this, or it's that. Trying to be realistic. Like, I think there's an element of sometimes being sensible, but like where does that line stop before everything's just safe, safe, safe? Like, you completely risk averse. There's no, but everything then becomes very, very predictable. There's nothing new and exciting. And there's one thing that I love, and I'm sure that you put the same, is new, exciting, chasing that dopamine high. Uh, Now, so you kind of get to that point where you're, working with these big brands, Disney, Holland Barrett, Asda, whatever. That's clearly come to an end for you. So what kind of like led you to that point, being like, okay, this is not for me anymore?
I think learning more about myself and gaining more skills and clarity in myself and confidence, because I think when I first went self-employed, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted it, and I knew I had so many different skills, but actually aligning on those things, I was like, I don't know what path I necessarily wanted to go down. Whereas I knew content creation for brands was like a need for brands, and you can make decent money in it as well. And it allowed me to really build my confidence, because essentially, especially when I was working with Disney, I was essentially pitching my idea from start to finish, and I had to get it signed off by their creative director, who had been working with Disney for like 20 years. And I'm this young girl that's coming in with bright ideas. But I was very much like, I had that side of me where I was like bubbly, really enthusiastic, but I have that authoritative side to be like, this is why you need to listen to me, and this is why it's going to work. And I understand your vision, but now you need to see mine. And but that doesn't come not like naturally. That is where you have to really work on your confidence to understand who you are, to be able to deliver that on an authoritative sense without being pushy or rude. It's like, no, this is me, and this is why you need to listen to me. I think for me, I still do create some content for brands now and businesses. It's still something that I do offer kind of on the side. But I think as you grow and as you get more experience, you start seeing different avenues, and people say, what about this? What about that? And especially with what I do now, I just got to a point where I was there, like, I've been wanting to do it for like over a year. And I was like, Carys, you just have to pull the plug and just do the thing. And I think because now I have the confidence and the backing and the belief in myself that actually you are skilled enough and educated enough to do it. I think before it's like you want to do something, but you think, I need more experience, I need more this, but actually you just need a lot of the time of just a bit more confidence.
Definitely. And I think there's so many times that, I always think, I think it's hard to get caught up in that thing of, if I think it, actually probably other people do as well.
Yeah.
And it's that point of, that, oh, I can't do that. Oh, I couldn't do that. Or you get presented with a task at work, or, something comes up in your personal life. Oh my God, I can do that. I can't. It's almost looking at that of like, that's actually a very normal thing. Swing the bat. Like, let's have a go. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, we can kind of dig into like the confidence side of it as well, because I think that's something that's massively overlooked. And people play safe, they play small, they kind of like, well, if I just kind of come back and I'm just me, and I'm being my own show, which for some people that's fine. But kind of allowing that confidence to come out. What have you found has been kind of quite a significant change for you in that journey? Is there anything that you can kind of pinpoint down and be like, this was a massive barrier to overcome for that confidence to really start to almost start to believe in your own source belief, like you as a person?
Everything really. Everything. Because I feel like everyone's lack of confidence in themselves, it stems from childhood, let's be real. Like, it's
Yeah, yeah,
not just a, "Oh, I feel self-conscious." It always stems from something that's happened to you from a young age. So understanding that and working through that is really, really important. And the way that I did that was working with my mindset coach, Alice. I worked with her for
yeah.
6 months last year, and it absolutely changed my life. Like, changed my life. I work with her again now because I said to her, I was like, "Alice, like, I've got grief that I'm having to process, but also I'm trying to step into this new version of myself. I've got so many thoughts going on in my brain that's trying to limit me." I was like, "Girl, I need your help again." But when I worked with her last year, like, I can't even express to you like how life changing it was. Like, the version of myself that I was when I first started versus who I am now, two completely different people. Like, I can't express to you how different I am now compared to how I was back when we started. It's
Yeah,
insane.
definitely. And I've had Alice on the show twice before, and just having
She's
a
amazing.
she's awesome. I love her to bits, and like the little kind of shifts and what she's allowed me to understand about myself. Two
Yeah.
conversations, and then we jumped on a call because we were just messaging catch up, and she's like, "Oh, like let's just have a chat about that."
Yeah.
And like within three conversations, just on online, like
Yeah.
is awesome. And something that I'm so big on and so passionate about talking about is that kind of that mindset work and kind of what that'll allow for you.
Uh,
My background and what I've done on the before, it's like, a
Just
lot of
do
this
it.
mindset
You
stuff has
need
been, yeah,
internet
just push
pass to create
harder,
your dashboard,
motivation,
and
stupidly big
then
goals, kind of in that grind set mentality.
mhm.
Whether, I'd kind of like consciously chose to go down that route or not,
you should add it.
I think it's probably an element of both. So for me anyway, I find it really challenging to be like, now I've kind of seen the light and seen on like not just like learning how to deal with my emotions better, for example,
Mhm.
but understanding, well, what do I want? Why am I the way that I am? And looking at it on a deeper level rather than just, some surface level situation, for example. Just, set a big goal and just get after it, work harder, grind harder. When you say that you're a completely different person, what for you has changed? Almost, what would
That's what
shot
that that gives does,
Paris
right?
say
The
a
one
year
that we did.
ago, roughly, to where you are today going through that process?
I would say the two main things are communication, how I communicate, and being in my feminine energy versus my masculine.
Yeah.
So there's a video of me and Alice on our first call because I don't know why, but I think it was meant to be. So I said to Alice on our first one-to-one, I was like, "Do you mind if I just record this?" And I had my note taker on, and she was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, fine, whatever." Look at me like, "I will literally send you notes." But she didn't realize until I shown her when she came down to Manchester recently that it actually obviously video records it. And I was like, "Look, look, look." And she was like, "Oh my God, like I didn't realize it actually records us like visually." And I obviously it was like over an hour long of a call. And I just clicked on this random part of the call, right? And it was me literally saying that I don't ever voice my opinions because I always get shut down. And that has been one of the biggest transformational things that I've gone through because I have no issue with telling people how it is, communicating, voicing my opinion, nothing. I'm very, very sure of myself and confident in the way that I communicate and I deliver information, whether that's business, friendships, relationship, whatever it is. And that was one of the biggest things because before I really struggled with communication and yeah, always got shut down even as a child and then in past relationships. So now I'm there like, no. And also if someone else can't communicate effectively and as an adult, I'm like, we can't be friends, we can't be in a relationship, we can't nothing because if we can't communicate simply, it's not going to work. And then when it came to my masculine versus feminine energy, I think it's a lot of what you say. It's like that grind. And my goals going into mindset coaching was, I want to make 10K months. I wanted this. I wanted that. I want a G-Wagon. I think it was because I was probably trying to prove something that I didn't actually need to prove to people. And I think because I went on in a route in my career of like, that was very different to like my brothers. Like my brothers went into the army when they were 16, and I'm just this la girl being like, I want to work in the creative industry, but I don't know what I want to do. And like just constantly pivoting. I think people were literally like, have you seen this girl? What is she doing? So I think I definitely had a sense to prove to people that it was going to work. But I was so dysregulated. I never felt good enough. Was working, but I wasn't being productive. I wasn't really getting stuff done. It was just, and also when I looked at my social media, I didn't feel like it matched up to who I truly was. So then Alice and I went on this massive journey of rediscovering myself in a more feminine way. But it's so weird because the more I've tapped into my feminine energy, the more authoritative I've become, the better I am at communicating, and the more successful I've become in business, in friendships, in life, everything. But it's one of those things on social media. It's easy to think, oh, that grind mentality is the only way that you're going to get successful. You need to work 12-hour days. It's like, no, you can be successful and have a slow life at the same time and regulate your nervous system. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny you should say about the nervous system. Like that's something that comes up so much for me. And it was probably just over a year ago with, again, working with Alice, understanding who Alice was, like that started to become a thing for me. And I'm like, okay, well, it makes sense why I feel stressed and rushed all of the time and that I'm being pulled from pillar to post. But like, actually everything's complete and utter chaos. Like where has this come from? Why is this the way it is? And understanding that kind of like, actually I can slow down, and kind of the clarity around that. And you have slower days and you're not waking up at stupid o'clock. 12-hour days, 7 days a week, okay, months. Like it's showy, like but there's nothing right, there's nothing wrong with that, like because I might look at someone on my feed, and they're cutting about in their new Porsche, and I'm like, fair play, mate, like respect it. But it's also like where like it's kind of the how it's charged, how the energy, the why, the motivation behind it. And like so often it comes from, like you said, trying to prove a point, but to who? And it's usually just that past version of yourself. But when I've done that where, achieve that goal, done the thing that I wanted to do. And I'm like, well, this feels shit. It's very empty. Doesn't really mean anything, only because I'm just trying to make a point rather than, actually look at that childhood version of myself and be like, okay, like, well, what he or she.
Yeah.
So spending time working on your mindset, like we could sit here until the cows come home and tell everyone how amazing it is and how, more people need to do it. With your, decision to make that kind of step into working on your mindset, because it's a really weird thing. Whenever I've used the word like mindset before, like some people are a bit like you're making out that I'm thinking wrong. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I am actually.
Yeah.
But that decision to be like, actually, like, I'm going to take that time to work on, invest in, really kind of start to challenge myself with the deep work, with mindset work, whichever feels more applicable for you. Kind of taught me into that decision making process, because that's not an easy thing to kind of like look at yourself and be like, oh, I actually probably do need to spend some time doing this. And also kind of, I think the other thing as well is finding the right person.
Yeah. And also, it's hard. I think now I find it a little bit hard to communicate mindset coaching because people are like, but how is it different to therapy, for example? And it's like so different, but I can't explain to you how different it is. It's so hard to communicate that. Yeah, I would say for me, I knew someone who was a mindset coach essentially, and I picked her brains about it. And the way that she did our initial call was incredible. And it made me realize actually, like, this could be really powerful. And then she introed me to Alice. And then obviously Alice and I started working together. I think it's hard to kind of understand if you've not done it, because your mind controls every decision, every thought that you make on a day-to-day basis, and as well as your subconscious brain. Because you could think consciously, yeah, like I shouldn't think that because it's only like this or it's only that. But then actually like your subconscious thoughts are deep rooted into something that you can't really control unless you work through it. And I had to heal so many wounds going through mindset coaching. And I think therapy would have never touched the sides, because I feel like with therapy, don't get me wrong, I had it for years beforehand. And I feel like therapy is a good place to just have like a safe space to essentially vent, but you're still not really working through it. You're offloading, but you're not actually working through it. Whereas mindset coaching makes you literally tackle the thing head on, work through it in the session, and then kind of like rewire it there and then. And I think sometimes you'll have like really big breakthroughs actually on the call and you're like, whoa. But then other times you're like, I don't really feel like I've broke through that. But then it's not until you are in a situation which may have triggered you before or something like that. And then you see how different you react to it. And you're like, well, actually, that did actually really help. And that really worked.
Yeah, definitely. And like, I'm similar to you. Like, I've kind of done a bit of mindset coaching and a bit of therapy before. And I don't necessarily, I think they're both great. And I think it's, like you said, it is obviously that kind of the initial kind of like who you work with as well. And finding
Yes.
that person that works really, really well. The amount of coaching things I've signed up to before. And it's just kind of been almost to show and it be a certain way and look like almost optics rather than actually anything, deeper below the surface, like too scared to say no kind of thing. Um,
Mhm.
I've had some bad fits, but like in terms of if I look at, people that I've spoken to on kind of like more of the therapeutic background, I used to work with this guy and, I was a bit like reluctant to kind of go with him initially because I'm like 60-year-old guy, like he was probably sort of like third or fourth on like the list of people that I kind of identified that potentially maybe interested in working at. And went through that list. Like, the amount of replies I didn't get, and I'm like, I'm offering you money, man. Like, what are you playing at? And then the other side of it was um, I spoke to one bloke who I thought, oh, you could be really interesting, and I was just like, this
Mm,
is this is not going to work. So I ended
mhm.
up speaking with this guy, and I kind of knew him before because we used to train at the same gym together. So I kind of knew who he was, but it was such a weird experience because, like, for me, I spent so much of that time. I really did need that support, and almost to kind of rather than be like, right, what are we going to do about it? It was kind of just I needed that container, and I
Mm,
needed to kind of have that time to speak and share and kind of get things off my chest, be challenged, whatever you want to call it. And he was absolutely perfect for that. But he also didn't let me get away with it, if that makes sense as
mm,
well. Like, I think that's such a big thing. You know, I've, I've coached in the past and there's so many things I kind of just let people get away with. And I'm like, actually, that's something I clearly need to work on. That's probably a wound that we need to go over. But secondly, there's also that element of like, you stop there, like, what's the point? That's going to, on the other side of that is kind of the outcome, the kind of result, if you will, of what you want. Now, even recently, so this was 2022, and there's still things that kind of keep coming up for me the best part of 4 years later. And I'm like,
yeah.
oh,
And they definitely will 100%, because I think we're always learning and we're always growing, and things will always come up that you don't probably expect a lot of the time. And that's where you have to have the tools to be able to deal with it like effectively. How would you say it's been for you? Because I feel like men struggle a lot more with sort of their feelings in general, but especially for you actually doing something to address things. Like, do you have friends that you can speak to? Like, how has that sort of process been like for you?
what's a good question? Like, yes and no. And I think it's almost having something that I would probably say has been for me is like, would have like certain friends that I would talk to certain things about. So, when
Mhm.
I was in business, I would talk to, well, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that. I would go to kind of people who would get that more rather than like my mum, for example, because it wouldn't be like, well, you don't like, there's that, not that level of understanding of like singing from like the same hymn sheet. But then there's other
Mhm.
things where I would never ever dare speak to, those guys about, but then I would be like actually completely open, with open up to like a friend who, has nothing to do with that in there, or, mum and dad and that kind of thing. Like, I think as well for me is kind of to counteract it a little bit as well, is like one of the biggest things for me was I almost kind of spoke about it too much. Like I would have something come up and then it would just kind of be like acting out and talking about it and almost trying to just move through the situation really quickly. Whereas, more recently in the last few years, like I've been kind of forced to sit with it
Mhm.
by myself in silence. And yeah, it is important for like men to talk and to have those things, because it's something that gets massively looked over. But but for me, one of the most valuable things was, I didn't have an issue necessarily talking about things, but I couldn't sit with myself. I couldn't sit in quiet. And it was always having kind of like that level of like stimulation, learning, or just constantly having like, I kind of get it to an extent of, you could be doing a food shop, for example, wandering around, screaming kids, argue it, like just general kind of noise. And you might put on podcast or some music just to drown it out. But then I would do that with every situation. And it would
Mm.
constantly be that like distract, rather than kind of like sit with it. And I think
Mhm.
for me, that's when like a lot of things came to the surface, was having that level of quietness and slowing down and kind of moving out of achiever mode into, and you're then sort of faced with it. And, there's 101 exercises that you can do. You can go through social media and stuff like that and download someone's workbook or do this or do that. But it's actually kind of like the thing that really resonates for me is the phrase lip service, very surface level, just doing it to tick a box rather than kind of being like really, intentional, and there being like a level of depth to it. I think for me, it kind of goes two ways. That actually one of the most valuable things that I could have ever done was stop trying to rush through it and talk about it and create noise and just try and move. It was actually just completely out of silence by myself to actually understand the situation. So then I can be like, okay, well, this is where I'm at.
Mhm.
This is the problem. This is what I'm not happy with. And then actually spend a little bit of time on being like, okay, well, what's the next step? What's the solution? What do I need to work through? Or does it not need to change? Sometimes that's just kind of who you are.
Mm.
And I spent so
I'm
long,
part of you, yeah.
yeah. And it's like one thing that I basically kind of lost was this idea of like, oh, I need to have that level of like constant stimulation. And that a lot of that came from like people, without
Okay.
being by myself. And I'm like, oh my God, I forgot how much I love being by myself and just doing my own thing.
Same. Oh my God.
I lost
Literally same.
I lost it.
Yeah.
I so lost it, and I rediscovered it. I kind of there was elements that I got forced into it. Like sometimes you need that. Sometimes you need your arm twisted and just forced into a situation. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
ow, I should, that hurt, but I'm actually really enjoying myself. I'm really enjoying
No,
myself.
honestly,
I can just pop to the
I
shop, get some
yeah,
dinner, do my thing, go for a walk. Oh, bliss.
it's do you know what? Being comfortable being by yourself is incredibly valuable because not everyone can do it, which blows my mind. And I can remember, so I've been single for over 3 years now. Best 3 years of my life, can I just preface by saying? But honestly, but I feel like when I've been in previous relationships, obviously they've not been the right one, but I feel like I've left them and just been so lost in who I am. And not feeling comfortable being by myself and actually not really liking myself. Whereas now I'm so happy with genuinely who I am as a person and my own life. But that's taken so much hard lessons and growth and hard decisions and struggle that people don't see. And that's the thing, like people just think people see where you are at now, but they don't really see the struggle that you have to go through to be able to get to that point. And being able to be happy by yourself, incredible feeling. Because I never thought that I would feel like that.
And it's that like introvert, extrovert kind of thing. And it's like, well, what you kind of both.
Yeah.
Certainly for me, and it's like, I'm in a relationship, but like there's elements of it like where, I really struggle being by myself, not having, her with me or whatever, but then actually like having, sit, circumstances played out in a certain way. And you're like, actually like, oh yeah, no, I can be okay by myself. And I spent so long trying to fix that and eradicate the problem. And I'm like, actually, no, I love it. Like it's being able to kind of not do it all because that's just a completely ridiculous thing to say, but like
Mm,
being okay with it. Like one of my favorite things to do is like flying by myself. Like if I've
I
needed
love
to,
it.
go up to Newcastle or get, go on a trip. And I'm like, actually, one of the best things was just like, oh, that kind of like experience of just rocking up to the airport by yourself,
Mm.
doing whatever.
No, 100%. Because I flew to Dubai last March by myself, and it was the first long haul flight that I've ever done by myself. And don't get me wrong, it was scary because I was like, I obviously have had to navigate Manchester Airport by myself, then London Airport by myself, and then Dubai. So it was a huge thing. But when I was doing it, I was like, oh, this is such bliss. Like I can literally have my headphones on the whole time. I can be in my own little world. No one's gonna bother me. I can do everything at my pace. And there's something really valuable about that. It's like it's very empowering to just be like, I am gonna live my life at my own pace. And I think for me, being single, I've definitely needed this time to be able to have this to just focus on myself and what I need, because I feel like the more you can understand about yourself and your needs, the better partner you will then attract, because you won't allow any sort of anything but the best in that sense of what you actually deserve. And yeah, but flying by yourself, so like solo, elite experience.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yes. We flew in a series. I had one of my friends on, Luke, and we basically just spoke about the whole thing about solo travel. So Luke's massive on solo trips. Started off when he was living in the UK, like going to Spain, going to here, going to there, went to Croatia to a festival by himself. And then like kind of how going through the process of how that snowballed for him, moving to Australia solo. And which
So
is
good.
so cool. And it was kind of understanding that, various different, that's not just what we spoke about. There's obviously other things, but that kind of ability to be by yourself and to have those things working and experiencing it. Like life is richer for experience, right? We all know that, but
100%.
like you've got to actually do it. If that makes sense. I know it sounds so stupid,
Mm,
but you've actually got to be willing to be like, okay, well, okay, I want richer experience in life. Okay, well, I've got to go somewhere and do a level of experience. Like, I've got to go and do it, like, and see how that feels. What's
mhm.
what's going to happen? You don't like it.
No, exactly. Yeah. And it's one of those things like going on holiday by yourself or moving away. It's like, okay, if it doesn't work out, move home, come back. So what? 9 times out of 10, it's going to work and you're going to have the best time of your life. But it's just getting outside your comfort zone. Like, at the end of this year, I'm going to move abroad because I think life is so short and tomorrow's not guaranteed. The next day. Nothing's guaranteed in life. And we think that we've got all of this time on this planet, but we really don't. And I think that's when it made me realize that's why I went and pivoted my business, because I was like, if I don't do this now, I might not get the opportunity again to do it. And that's why I want to always be on holiday and travel and have that experience and really do what I want to do and that purpose, because you don't want to be on your deathbed and be like, I should have done that. Why didn't I do that? It's just a waste.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's so much out there about like, go and make 80-year-old you proud, impress the 80-year-old and the 80-year-old, kind of the one on the deathbed, and that kid that you carry
Yeah.
with you, whether you like it or not, through the next, however many years it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, that's what I massively admire about you and what you're doing is all around this kind of stuff where, you know, you're like, actually go and do it now, go and make it happen, go and do the things that you do want to do. Because like I said, the whole content thing, that's new. That's not something that's just like popped out of nowhere. Like that's come up for you again and again and again. And it's those kind of like, you'll keep getting taught lessons or nudged and pushed in direction for a long, long time until you end up doing it.
Yes. Honestly, I will say this now, right? Anyone that's listening that is like, why does this keep happening to me? I keep getting rejected, or this, and this, like things that keep coming up for you. There will be reasons, let me tell you. All of those pivots, all of those rejections, everything that's happened in my life has literally been to carve me in what I'm doing now. It's been the exact path specifically to be like, Carys, we've been saying all along that you need to go into this and you need to do this because you're so good at it. But it's not until certain things happen to your life that you're like, fine, I'll do it. I'll do it scared, but I'll do it, you know? And if there are people listening to this and they're like, oh my God, yeah, like you resonate to some degree, always think, what is your gut saying? What is your true desire? Not what anyone else thinks that you should do. What do you want to do? If you're working a full-time job that actually you low-key don't like, but you've got a dream to do something, do whatever you can to start working towards that and pursuing that. Because one, you're the only person that can do that. And two, we don't have all this time in the world. So take the opportunity whilst you can to do it, because no one else is going to do it for you. And actually, the people that you see succeeding and successful, they've had to work through barrier after barrier after barrier. But do you know what? They're doing it. And they're doing it scared, they're doing it uncomfortable, and they're taking the risk. But they're doing it, and you're not. And that's the difference.
Definitely. And I think like we hear so much about 9 to 5, 9 to 5, 9 to 5, but there is also 2 5 to 9s in the day. Now, don't get me wrong, but a few of them, especially in the morning, you're probably going to want to spend asleep, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
I would be asleep.
But there's still a chunk of that time in the morning and in the evening that you've got to kind of go and do these things. Now, I'm not saying that you have to then devote every second of that time to building what's next, because that's the prime time that you're going to go to the gym, go for a run, like do life admin things. But those 5 to 9s on the weekends, like that's where you can start to do that. And it might just be a matter of kind of living it in a very small dose or making those moves to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Let's say you've always had a dream to. I've always said that my backup career is barbering. He says with massive haircut. Ironically, can't cut his own hair. I've always said that as like the backup. If things ever went really, really peaked on, just go and train as a barber, because I can talk to people, I can stand there and just cut hair all day. It's also a massive creative outlet.
Yes.
Because you basically get to make a bloke's day by giving him a nice trim and sending him on his way.
100%. Yeah, definitely.
But like, let's say that's what I decided that I wanted to go and do. I can start doing the training. I can start going and shadowing, going to different barbers. I can start to learn about it. What courses can I do? Watching YouTube videos, like learning and just immersing yourself in that. That then eventually, when the opportunity presents itself, which if you're working towards it and working in and around good, like the right people, it will happen. It will appear.
I think it's so true. Like my best friend is actually a perfect example of this. She is a full-time photographer, so she shoots 9 till 5, Monday to Friday. She also trains every day, so she obviously lifts, but she's also a really, really, really strong runner. But she has decided to go down the nutrition route. So she's currently doing her course on becoming a nutritionist, essentially, because she has a passion in that and educating women around that, essentially. And she's also trying to look after a flat, maintain friendships, but then maintain a relationship. And she'll wake up extra early, go to the gym, revise, go to work, Like, she's got all of the, I honestly, I don't envy her because I think I could not do that personally. But it goes to show, like, if you genuinely do want it enough, you will do whatever you can to essentially achieve that. And she essentially wants to do all of that amazing things. And I say to her, I was just like, you need to just stay locked in to this time, because the more you can stay locked into this time and like revise, do really well with like your content, especially around running, then she'll start working with brands and then she can leave her job. And it's like that grueling stage that she'll have to go through this year, and that grind will be so worth it when she's able to leave her job, pursue content creation and nutrition full time, and work with all of her dream brands. But it's like you have to start somewhere. And unfortunately, those initial stages are unsociable, they're lonely. Like the parts, even to this day, like because my business is online, I can be from wherever in the world, which I has always been my dream and I'm so grateful for. But unless you create friendships and relationships with people that are also doing the same, it can be very, very lonely.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's probably one of the most common podcast topics that ever comes up is this idea of like the lonely chapter and going through those times that are, it is lonely, it is unsociable, like early mornings, late nights, long weekend days, not, spent relaxing and, down the pub or whatever you do on your weekends kind of thing. But I think the important thing to remember is that is a chapter. Chapters end and they also come back up again. So it's like, obviously for your friend, like I said, that's not going to be forever. That's going to be for a period of time. And then the chapter changes, things change. And then they might decide that they want to, I don't know, become a barber and go and retrain and go and do it again and go for that period. But like, it's not, I think it's like that kind of mountain to climb. People see it like, okay, you might be able to see the top, but there is going to be a point where if you get to it, that's kind of, you get there. And sometimes, and there's so many times in my life where I've done this, where I've had the wrong I put my ladder up against the building. I got to the top of the ladder and I realized I'm up the wrong building. And that's a whole thing within itself that we don't need to get into today. It's so important to kind of go through these phases, and like what you were saying as well, is understanding what do you value really highly, what's really important, and then actually build that around your life. And like travel, being to have to work from anywhere in the world. Okay, well, you best not start an in-business, an in-person personal training business, for example,
Yeah.
because that goes directly against the life that you want to go to. So it's understanding like what do you need to get out of it, and how all of that, how it works, and making sure that it's congruent. Because the funny thing for me, I'm like, that's something I've been so geared to in the past. I want this, but my reality is this, and they kind of like are opposing and they pull each other away, which is massive.
I think the main thing is with it is like you have to be okay with failing and pivoting, like especially if you're starting a business. Like it's not always going to work and it's not always going to align, but as long as you're okay with failing and not making that a personal attack on yourself, and be okay with just trialing things out and learning as you go, that's the main thing. Because it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do when, going through different avenues with my career over the past like 10 years. It's easy to be like, oh, I'm just not going to do it, or I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to get a full-time job, whatever. There's been many times, especially my freelance career, where I've been like, I'm just going to get a full-time job, but then I can't get a full-time job because I can't get any interviews. And then that's the universe being like, Carys, you're not meant to work full-time for someone. And thank God I never did, because I could not. I always say now I'm so unemployable. I'm like, no one would employ me, and I wouldn't want them to either.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. So towards the end of last year, you received some horrible news about your brother. Can you tell me a little bit about this and start painting a picture?
Yeah. So last November was a very strange month. So I moved into the city centre of Manchester, into an apartment. It was like a dream of mine since I moved into Manchester like 2 years ago, that I wanted to live in the city centre and live in a big girl apartment and a nice block. It was insane. So moved here, was absolutely buzzing. And I'm just going to give you a rundown of the month, basically. So you can kind of get a picture of how I was mentally. So I was absolutely buzzing. Honestly, I was so happy. And then about 2 weeks later, my car gets smashed in. So the window gets like fully smashed in, glass everywhere. I'm spending the whole day in this like garage trying to get it sorted with my insurance. So my car ends up being in this garage for like a month and a half. And I was just like, oh my God, didn't even find out obviously who did it. So then there was that. And then I got a job with JD Sports shooting for Nike, which was absolutely insane because Nike was holding a after dark women's like run event in London, and JD Sports essentially needed social media coverage of the event. So I went down with JD, got fully kitted out in like full Nike by them, and it was the most incredible thing. And the event was a 10K run, so I was literally running while shooting content. And you know, when you're there, like, how is this my life? Like, this is actually insane. Was just so happy and so elated and just really proud of myself as well. I was just like, this is insane. Like, this is going to look so good on LinkedIn. So that was incredible. And yeah, was just feeling really, really happy, really content. Obviously, that was like towards the end of November. So it was like the build up to Christmas. Me and my family on our group chat were messaging because obviously I was coming down from Manchester to Bristol, and then my brother Jake was coming down from Derby down to Bristol. So we go to my brother Josh's every Christmas as a family, and we just like congregate there. So we were all chatting. Jake was like, yeah, I'll be down for Christmas Eve. And I think I was planning to go down Christmas Eve as well. So I was like, perfect. This is really fun. We're going to have a nice Christmas together. And that'll be that. And then, so it was the week after I was shooting in London for Nike and JD that I woke up, I can remember like it was yesterday, it's so weird. I woke up Saturday morning. So on the Friday night, I got an early night because I had a whole full weekend of presenting jobs because it was Black Friday weekend. So I was like, right, I need to get an early night because I'm going to have some really long shifts. And my phone goes obviously on Do Not Disturb every night. So woke up and looked at my phone, but you know when you just tap on it and you see like the first notification, I didn't even open my phone. I just said it just was like Josh missed call, which is my eldest brother. And I was like, why is he calling me? Like, he always FaceTimes me. And I was like, that's a bit weird. But I just like put it down. I was like, right, I'm gonna shower and then I'll give him a call back. So showered, and in my head I'm thinking, you know when something's not sitting right with you automatically, it was like, why is he calling me? Like, this is really weird. So then I got out of the shower, opened my phone. It's call, missed call, missed call, missed call, message. Carys, call. It's really important. Call me, missed call from my dad, brother, mum, sister-in-law. And it was like 8 calls and I was like, what is going on here? But I still didn't think it had anything to do with Jake. I thought maybe it was my nephew, like he's throughout his whole 10 years of life so far, he's been in and out of hospital. And then I was thinking maybe it's my dad, like, is my dad okay? So I called my mum. I was like, what's happening? Like, what's going on? She was like, where are you? And I was like, at home. She was like, right, I'm going to FaceTime you. And she just came out with it. She was like, Jake's dead. And I was like, what do you mean? And for anyone that doesn't know, Jake is my brother. He was 32. So there's 5 years between us. And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, I don't even know what I said, to be honest, on that call. My whole body went into like pure shock. And yeah, so it actually happened on the Friday. And then the police told my family in the evening. So he was found in the morning / like lunchtime, I would say. But then obviously it takes some time for them to actually establish, like, get our files and find out where we live and stuff like that. So yeah, he took his own life essentially. And it's just very, very weird, the whole situation, to be honest, because we found out everything after he passed away, to why he did it, the relationship that he was in, his girlfriend, how abusive she was, how she was just horrible to him. And one thing that I will always know about him is he never rose to any of her bullshit, essentially. He always was very sensitive, caring person, even to his own detriment. And yeah, it's crazy though, like that was the end of November, because I still feel like it was yesterday, but it's been nearly 6 months, 5, 6 months, which is absolutely mental, because I just think time waits for no one. And that's the brutal thing about grief, is time passes, people's life continues, and you're stuck with this grief that you suddenly have to process. And then obviously, so that happened end of November. And then I got a call from my mum about 4 weeks ago. And you know, when you're there, like, I literally text my mum saying, "Good night, I love you." She's FaceTiming me. I'm there like, "Mum, I'm saying good night. Like, let me go to sleep." And then she was like, text me, like, call me in the morning. It's important. And I was like, "Well, the last time you said that, my brother was dead. So what do you mean?" And she was like, "Everyone on our like immediate side's fine, but it was her best friend's husband, who's been in my life for over 10 years, see him more of as an uncle to me. He had a blood clot and it spread to his lungs and killed him, essentially. The ambulance were working on him for about an hour, but yeah, they just couldn't save him. So that's an instant, like, no warning, he's just dead. And it's actually his funeral today. I wasn't able to go because I've got an event in Manchester tomorrow and the funeral's down in Exeter. So logistically, it's just not going to work out. But it's like 2 people essentially in our family in the space of 6 months, where, because it's not like it's they're in hospital and you've got a little bit of buffer time to see them or process it. It's 1 minute they're there, 1 minute they're not. And you just have to deal with that.
Yeah. And like, it's almost like, what's the, like, grief's a funny one. And almost like, you know, in those situations, like a total surprise is horrible. But then it's also, you know, you get, if someone has cancer, for example, and there's this like steady decline and you have to watch that. Okay, yeah, you get your
Yeah,
buffer time, but I mean, it's, would you rather have your right arm chopped off or your left? Like, there's
I
not
know.
really a, like,
Not really a better
there's not a
situation.
better
Yeah.
situation at all. And like, I can't necessarily talk firsthand about any like grief, like any kind of loss that I've had has been more of a situation that's like a lot smaller scale. It's not necessarily been particularly, you know, like I always say, you know, like a grandparents, you know, for example, obviously it's sad,
Yeah.
but it's also, you know, someone's in their 80s or the 90s. It's not
And they've lived their life.
a
Yeah.
surprise, if that makes sense. Whereas, you know, if it's someone, you know, very, very similar ages, but it's like, you know, I'm hearing about people that are like your age that, you know, whether it's a health problem or whether it's you know, something a bit more sinister, or, you know, just a really like sad situation, obviously like your brother, like that's the ones that kind of, yeah, shake you and make you really realize that, like, oh, there isn't, like, I think I've got all this time and it can wait till tomorrow and it can wait till then, and oh, I'll do it
Mm,
when, and oh, next year this, next year that.
I know. Like, what a privilege it is for people to think that we've got all this time. Like, we do not. And that's why I pivoted my business this year, because I was like, actually, losing Jake, he was only 32, like so young, like so young. To lose him at that age, it makes you truly think, like, wow, like, we got to live our life big time, because we haven't got all of this time. And I always say that to people. And I was actually in Palma recently. And I think I essentially said that to someone. We met these guys, and I think they were from like, I can't even remember, Germany or something. And I said something like that, like, you got to live your life, like, life is too short. And he literally was like, "Why are you, you're talking like you're going to die tomorrow?" And I was like, "Well, my brother died." And he was like, and then he opened up that one of his best friends also, like, killed themselves, essentially. And I was like, and he was like, "How did you just get that out of me?" And I was like, you got to be honest. You got to talk about life. You got to have those hard conversations, because so many people don't. And actually, if you can start having those hard conversations with people, that can actually really, really help them. Like, I was walking in Manchester a few weeks ago with my friend, and this guy stopped me and was like, "I love your TikToks." I was like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "You make TikToks, right?" Because you could see that I was so confused. And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "I just want to say, like, thank you, because I've gone to essentially get professional help based like off the back of your of your videos and talking about your brother. And I was like, amazing. Like, I'm so glad that you felt that you wanted to do that based off the story that I told about Jake. And I think the more that, you know, you can be honest about your situation and your experience with grief or your own mental health, the more it opens up that conversation for other people as well. And I think it's so important.
Yeah. And like something that's so good to hear is obviously like how you turn like this unbelievable pain of grief in, especially in the context, obviously you experienced it, into like this such positive energy of like, right, I'm gonna just completely tear up what I'm doing and start again and chase that goal ambition that I've had for years and I've always wanted to do. And, you know, obviously I know you've done like work with charities supporting, you know, those in grief as well. And once you did the run in January,
Yeah.
should we just not bring that up?
How I did that, I do not know. Running 32 kilometers, I don't know how I did that. Pure grit is how I did that. And I think when you've got a purpose, you've got a job to do at the end of the day, and that you can't stop until you've achieved that job. But yeah, it was hard, very hard. But I had a group of people with me the whole way. So yeah, I had support the whole time. I wouldn't have done that by myself. But to be honest with you, the way I see it is like, when you are delivered that sort of news, you either, it's one of two ways, right? Because trust me when I say I didn't want to be here anymore when I found out. For the first like month, I was like, do not want to be here. What is the point in living if we don't have our family dynamic and my brother's not here? Like, what? I literally didn't see the point. That first month was horrendous, especially because it was Christmas as well. We had his funeral 2 days before Christmas. Imagine that.
Yeah, that's
Imagine that. 2 days before Christmas, I have to go to the funeral of my brother. And then the day before Christmas, they pick up his ashes. Like, if people think they've got it hard,
yeah,
trust me, no. No, no, no. Like, sit in front row at my brother's funeral 2 days before Christmas. That is going to humble you like something you will never see before. But that either destroys your life and you never come back from it, or you take it and you're like, I have to live my life for me, but also for him. Like, he loved traveling. He traveled so much for work. And I think, right, I'm going to travel now. I'm going to go see the world, because I know that's what he loved doing and what he did so much of. Like, the day before he passed away, he was actually in Rome for work. And it's just like, it's pure evidence of like, he loved going and traveling with work. And I think actually, like, if anything, I need to carry on that like legacy for him, because I'm the only person really in my family that has the flexibility to do that. And I think out of everyone, like, I need to be the one that carries that on.
yeah. And I think like it it gives you that kind of like, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like that newfound purpose. And like, I know what you said about like obviously running like a job to do, but like that's obviously very like short term in that moment. But as you come on, there's like carrying that memory and that energy and who that person, what they represent, and living that out as well. There is such a magic to it. And you know, even something as little as like, so one thing my grandma always used to say was, give it 3 months, give it 3 months. And that was probably so nonchalantly thrown away as just a thing. But like, as a coming back to it, you know, the amount of things that I've done day one of, and I'm like, well, I fucking hate this. This is horrible. What have I done to myself? And then it's that 3 months, 3 months, shut up, three
Yeah.
months kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think with all of it, like, especially with grief, like, no one teaches you how to deal with it, process it, go through it. Because that was the first time really that I've experienced grief from like a really close perspective. I now actually work with a charity called Too Young to Grieve. So Luke is the founder of it, and it's all about giving people a safe space around their own grief, and also that education around people who haven't experienced grief, but maybe they know someone that has. And I think there needs to definitely be more education in regards to grief for other people. Like my friends, for example, bless them, they're not going to know what the hell to say to me if like, because they've never experienced it themselves. So I think that education piece around grief is huge. But I think for me, what's helping, I'm actually working around this with Alice at the moment in regards to allowing myself more space to talk about him, but also think about him and process it, because I realized recently I've really been blocking it out because it's just been easier to block it out, because I don't want to sit there sobbing my eyes out, because it's just not a really unenjoyable experience, but it has to happen as part of grief. But one thing that I am actually doing at the moment, which I'm enjoying, is every time that I go and order a coffee out and they're like, oh, can I take the name? I'm like, Jake. So I order it under Jake's name every time, and I don't order it under mine. And it's just a way to like keep him still here, you know? It's little things like that to be able to do that is yeah, really, really good. I like it's weird, but I think it's good.
Yeah. And I think it's also kind of like listening to what you want that to be, because, like someone might think, oh, that's X, Y, or Z. But like if that's in this moment helping you and bringing you the peace or whatever you feel that you need at this precise moment in time,
Yeah.
crack on, live it. Like go and
It's crazy, like it's weird things. Like I was sat on the sofa celebrating my birthday with my friend the other day. We were just catching up. And then so this never happens, right? There was two butterflies. I'm like 16 floors up, right, in my building. I'm
yeah,
really high. Two butterflies just going around the window outside. And to Alice, I was like, look at those two butterflies. She was like, oh my God, Carys. And I was like, that was the first time I've seen Jake and Stu, who was my mum's best friend's husband, just together. And it made me think, oh my God, they're safe. They're together. Like they're looking after each other. And I was like, oh my God, this is so weird. Like crazy. So crazy. It's little things like that. You're like, shit. Like you have to be open to seeing those things. And I think that's something my mum's really good at. She's really good at talking to him out loud and being like, 'cause I think she told me, she was like, I spoke to him and I said, right, I want you to show me that you're here through an animal. And I got a feeling it was a bluebird. So a bird. And she was like, I want you to show me this bird in a place that I wouldn't expect. And she went on holiday with her partner and she was in the pool and this bluebird just kept coming over to her. And then she started doing laps of the pool and this bird kept following her. And she just broke down in the pool because she was like, oh my God, a completely new place. This bird specifically is following me for like 20 minutes. But I do think you have to be quite open to it. And I haven't been, I wouldn't say.
I think it's like you can get quite clinical with it of like, stages of grief and da 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 da, and it's this and it's that, but it's also kind of having that opportunity just to feel it and being open to it. That
Mm.
doesn't have to stop like be solely a like a grief thing. It can be. I think there's such value in kind of letting that openness to what could be, what might be, in so many different areas of your life. And
Mhm.
I get it, it's uncomfortable and it might be weird or it might be this or it might be that. Like, I get it. Like, I totally understand. And it's being open to that process. Like, for me, it was really something around like journaling. And it's not like, not understanding something like that is not like, dear diary, today I went to the shop and I,
I bought my favorite chocolate.
yeah, like it's not that. It's about, almost like, like I started doing it as like a prompted journaling, and then it's actually like, well, what if you take the prompt away and just see what comes up? And I think that's
Yeah.
kind of magical. And like one of my big things I've spoken so many times about in other episodes, so I kind of keep it quite brief, is there's a note in my phone somewhere of basically I got myself in this right old state. I sat down on my laptop and I started typing, just really pissed off, really frustrated. I was like, right, what's pissing me off is this title of this note somewhere on my phone. And I scroll, I could go and scroll through it, and it's, surface level things of like, it's really busy, I'm cold, it's this, it's that. And then you kind of like keep going. And I basically had this realization that, you know, that my career path, what I was doing was just like, it's kind of
Mm,
become like something needed to change.
mhm.
And okay, yeah, I maybe didn't deal with it in the best possible way, but you've got to go through those things and just kind of like letting it come out and not, because that would have been so easy to be like, I'm cold, I'm pissed off, it's really busy, I couldn't find anywhere to sit down. No, 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 all of these things. Oh, so and so bumped into me in the street.
Yeah, I always
It's
say,
always
like,
at the start.
people that react really weirdly about, like, little things, it's because there's something underlying in always,
Yeah, yeah,
and I think it's very important to start understanding that about yourself. Because when I was speaking to Alice on our last call, one of the things that comes up for me is, like, being in really busy, overcrowded places makes me really overstimulated. We've realized that it's because one of the reasons why I feel so overstimulated is because I don't feel safe and I feel really anxious. And I was like, I've never really seen myself as a like super anxious person, but obviously since Jake passed away, it was like it's heightened it massively. But there's always deeper underlining things to why you will feel certain things. And I think the more that you can understand that and delve into that and learn how to live with it and grow with it will be really, really powerful.
yeah. And who am I? Like, who are you to take that away from anyone else? Like, that's like for me to turn around and say, have any sort of thought or judgment on you ordering a coffee in your brother's name. Like, who the fuck does that make me? Like, if that's working for you, but I might be presented with a similar situation and end up doing it myself. Like, I think it's letting an ability of kind of just open to the idea of curiosity that happens. Because like, there's so many things in life, so many times that, like, if you went back over your life at the farm tooth going, we would start to realize actually that's where they might have that showed up for me, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I've always hated the idea of this, but now it's actually something I do every single day.
100%. And I think that's the thing. It's so important not to judge other people because you just never know what situation they've been in, what experience they've got. And, because obviously I have been very, very open about my whole situation with losing Jake, because I think it's important to talk about mental health, especially men's mental health. But if I didn't start posting about that, no one would realize what it is that I've had to be like living with and dealing with, because you just don't know. And it's not until you actually open up conversations with people that you then can understand what people are struggling with on actually like a deeper level, because no one really talks about it. Because when it's like, when you have those conversations like, oh, hey, how are you? It's like, oh, yeah, fine. How are you? And it's like, no, actually, how are you? And no one really allows that time for people to be like, I'm actually really, really struggling, you know? And I think that's why these conversations are so important. Because I hope someone that's listening to this can be like, okay, yeah, I do actually need to go and tell my friend or my family or a professional that I actually am not okay. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Not at all. And I think it's so important to kind of have those conversations. Like, for me, like, I almost there's a level of like frustration of, when you've ever said, yeah, I'm fine. And you're like, no, you're not. Like, let's just right up. Let's just let's speed run this shit. Like, tell me, right, what's the crack? What's happening? Like, let's
Mhm.
let's get this bonnet up
Yeah.
on you, kind of thing. Like,
Mhm.
and for me, like, I have such like a craving and need for like that meaning, and like,
Same.
let's just talk. Let's not play smoke and mirrors.
Pretend. Yeah.
And again, sometimes there's, but I get it. You don't want to talk about with a certain person in
Mm.
conversation, not have that type of relationship. But if you do, like,
Yeah.
let's get that. Let's have that, deep meaning conversation. Let's make it, like, the fact that it already means that we have like a relationship that we need to talk about it. We can do something about this. And even if it's just, like I said, blowing off steam. I've had a argument with Maureen, and that it's just kind of like release the valve. Okay, well, better, cool, right? Let's move on. Like, it's
Yeah, definitely. And also, it's normalizing these conversations. That's going to be the power of it. It's actually normalizing having deep conversations with people. I went to a networking, I like networking dinner. It wasn't networking, it was actually just like 10 women in this room having dinner together. Instantly, boom, deep conversation. Was chatting to people about my brother, and then they all opened up about people that they've lost recently. And I was like, this is the power of conversation. And if you ask any of my friends, they'll tell you I hate surface level conversation, because I think actually, like, it doesn't stimulate my brain at all. I find it boring. And that's one of the reasons why I pivoted my business, because I was sick of having just generic conversations with clients and people. I was like, actually, I find this really boring. Whereas like when I work one-to-one with my clients now, we really delve into their limiting beliefs, the way that they feel about themselves, the way they want to feel about themselves, and the way they want to be perceived to their true, authentic identity. And we work through essentially what is holding them back. And it's beautiful. It's insane. It's so amazing seeing like people actually start seeing their worth a bit more when it comes to, even just personally, like I ain't no mindset coach, but I can definitely help them from obviously what I've learned with working with Alice. But then it all comes into play, especially when you're doing like personal branding stuff and stuff like that. It's like you need to have a good self-talk and mindset around yourself for you to actually be able to show up authentically online.
And I think like the other thing as well is, like, in the grand scheme of the world, personal branding, that, showing up online is maybe the last 10 to 15 years tops. And it's one of those things where it's constantly evolving. I was running my business, having, understanding what content works, what content resonates, and then, having time off of like content creation, kind of coming back to it with very, very different stance and offering, and the various things that I might content create, which is a really weird thing to say, for me anyway. And how that comes up and how it shows up, and actually like how can I be more me? What bits of me am I shunning back, or am I doing, if I don't, if I do, don't bring something to the surface, for example, like, am I doing that for the right reasons, or is there something that I need to work on? And I think it's really interesting that, like, you can make that a thing, and like there's clearly a demand for it, because it's like apparently when you go to schools these days, it's like, what do you want to be? Like probably when you and I were growing up, it's like I want to be a footballer, or I want to be this, I want to be that, and now it's like I want to be a YouTuber, I want to be an influencer.
Yeah, you see it so much more now, and kids are growing into that industry a lot younger. Like social media, even as adults, like the way people consume social media, it's huge. And I think you need to have a good relationship with it, else it will literally destroy your mental health.
Yeah, definitely.
God. The main pieces of advice I would give to someone if they are either processing grief at the moment or struggling with their mental health. So these have been the main things that have helped me. Exercise, like movement, is the number one thing I tell everyone. However you see fit with that, whether that's just going on long walks, whether that's running, whether that's boxing, Pilates, strength training, whatever outlet that you actually genuinely enjoy, move your body on a daily basis, because that is really going to help your mental state. So that's like number one. I would also say journaling will be huge for people's mental health, because I have loads of friends that are like super, super anxious people. And I'm like, do you journal? They're like, no. And I'm like, no wonder why you're anxious, because your thoughts haven't got anywhere to go. They're just rattling around in your brain all the time. Like, get them down on paper, voice memo them, whatever you need to do, just get them out and reduce your intake of social media sort of content will be huge as well. I think that's so important because I think the more that you're consuming, the worse your mental health is actually going to be. And I always say, create more, consume less. So speak to whoever you can about how you're feeling. Those would be my main things because they're really, really important and crucial to anyone's mental health. 100%.
Amazing. What place to end. Paris, thank you so much for your time
Yeah,
today, your honesty, the story and so much you shared. It's absolutely amazing. And I
thanks.
think there's a lot in there that will help a lot of different people. So where can people find you for the final cringy podcast?
That's what I'm like on when I got people and I'm like, where can people find you? Literally all of my handles on socials are at Carys Anderson Jones. So yeah, I'm on all platforms, of course. So that's where you can find me.
Be weird if you weren't.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Too chronically online sometimes.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.